3, 2, 1, go.
Hello. This is Ignacy Trzewiczek, Portal Games.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 193, and we're recording it on April 28th, 2001. The 2021 Golden Geek nominated Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. And Ignacy, the Board Games Insider nomination for the 2021 Golden Geek Award for Best Podcast proves once again that Tom Vassell is wrong, isn't he?
He definitely underestimated us, or what the actual word, the English word, that he didn't believe in us.
He did not.
Here we are, the underdogs now. Very, very proud. Of course, we are going to brag about this for the whole year, even if we don't win it. This is the topic of the podcast for the upcoming 12 months. Being nominated is amazing.
That's great. That is great. And as everybody knows, we are also getting close to our 200th episode. And that's a big milestone. And we are running a contest right now. Stay tuned to the event deck for more information on the contest and how you can enter the contest and what you're going to win in the contest. But in the meantime, bragging aside, Ignacy, what's happening at Portal Games?
Things happen, but of course, the most important operation is Vienna Connection preparation for the release of the game, the new game in the detective family. And I wrote in the show notes the game is on because before the release of the game, we are having some fun with our fans. So as I'm recording, we are preparing about 1,500 letters that we are going to send to the people who pre-ordered the game. In this letter, there are some instructions for them and some secret message. I don't know if all of the pre-order people will find the secret message, but there's a small secret message in the letter. Very excited that we are starting to play with a spy theme of the game, so sending secret letters, secret messages, some codes, etc., etc. And the release will be late May, but we are already starting to have fun. Very eager to see the feedback of the players when they finally get the game. Our Portal Games Digital confirmed that everything is ready for the release. Rodney Smith from Watch It Play confirmed that he has the copy, so he can record the video explaining how to play the game. So everything is in the place. Long prepared operation. So this is the news of the week. Vienna Connection, it is happening very soon.
Awesome.
My brag of the week, I don't know if you heard, I want to remind everybody, Board Games Insider was nominated for Golden Geek. So I want to...
Has anybody heard? Do you think anybody's heard that? Maybe it's kind of gone under the radar. We've already mentioned it 3 times.
Pre-orders and street dates. The first Friday of May, we are opening pre-order for Egyptian Kings, the newest expansion for Empires of the North, and Vienna Connection was already on pre-order. Both products will be on a street date May 27th. So ask your local game store to get it, so you can grab it. 2 new decks for Empires of the North and 4 new cases for all fans of detective. Very exciting. And what's happening at the HQ? Next project is always, as we record this podcast for many years, is the same thing. You guys will be excited about Vienna Connection. For me, it will be this old song because I am now all in for the new game, that 11, the project that will be released next year. This is now in development, in final development, preparation for the crowdfunding campaign. So I'm excited on 11. You will be excited about Vienna Connection. Always a mess with these time zones and problems and schedules and delays, etc., etc. And my last part, video of the week: why board games don't get the second print run. This is the video I recorded this past Monday. You can find it on my YouTube channel. I record live every Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And this time I gave 5 most common reasons why games don't get the second print run. Check it out if you want to learn about industry from me. This is what's happening. Basically, I'm developing the game that nobody cares now because everybody cares about different games. Life. What's happening with your retirement? Tell us about all the difficult things dedicated to your renovation.
Yeah,
all the problems.
It
Give us details.
It actually doesn't end, but I mean, most of the problem right now, it's about literally going out like constantly to try to find like, faucets. And I mean, it's just crazy. But really the craziness is going to start. It's been postponed a little bit. So it's not going to really start for about a month, it sounds like now. I mean, the really crazy bad stuff where they're ripping down walls and my floors and things like that. So I won't go too deeply into that, other than just know that retirement at this point in my life is project planning for this entire crazy remodeling project. Hey, didn't you just moved, right? You just literally moved your house, right?
Today, the movers and they were very interesting because they counted. I don't know why they counted the boxes, and when they moved everything, they said 100 boxes. So they moved 100 boxes, and they were complaining. I don't know why. This is their job. And there was 100 boxes with my books, comic books, and games only. And so I'm very happy.
Really? Oh, then that's pretty cool. 100 box. I remember having 30 very large boxes of games, which, by the way, I have to pack all of those games again, get them into large boxes, and then get them out of here because there's going to be no floor here for a while. So I have to kind of move too, but I'm moving half a house, I guess. But it's the bigger half. It's the bottom floor. It's
I
terrible.
love this new section of the podcast called complaining section. I love it.
the Podfather goes Slavic. That's what it's now called. But other fun things that are actually going. So yesterday, I started my planning for my trips post vaccination. I feel very comfortable now. I can start traveling. So fully vaccinated. Within a week from now, I'm gonna be even past the 2-week point of the second thing. So now you're fully vaccinated. Chance of catching it, your chance of spreading it are extremely low. First trip is going to be out in Las Vegas. Vegas, baby.
Oh.
Vegas. Yes, the Podfather in Vegas for no reason other than he wants to have a good time with his brother, my crazy brother Greg, and a bunch of non-gaming friends. Though when they say the word gaming, they're talking about gambling and sports and things like that. So we'll be out there making sports bets and eating great food and drinking great wines and stuff like that. That's my first trip in June. And the trip after that, I mentioned it last time, planning on going to Napa Valley. Probably going to be a July trip at this point to, again, have some great wines, visit my buddy Corey from Dice Tower Now, who's just a great guy. And we've gotten very close during the whole COVID pandemic. So I'll be documenting all of those fun things that I'll be doing. Hopefully people would want to see me doing some of that stuff. And that's about it. I just want to mention again to everybody that, we're still doing the happy hours, and I plan on doing that until life is just a little more normal. And every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, and Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Why don't you stop by? If you go over to the Facebook Podfather of Gaming page, the event is posted, and it's an ongoing event for those 2 days every week. You go into there and you go get tickets. It's no tickets. You just get the event code. You get the Zoom link, and you join. And we've been getting some new people, which is great. We have a steady number of about 20 people that show up, and then every once in a while somebody new shows up who's a listener. It's always somebody from Board Games Insider that shows up, and then they often stay and they come week after week. Jeremy, I know you're a listener, and he's been showing up now week after week. Great guy. So go check that out and come stop by. And it's literally just a silly 1 hour. That's what's happening over here with the Podfather of Gaming. Let's get to the event deck. All right. So as I mentioned, we are about to celebrate in about 8 weeks or 7 weeks from now, the 200th episode of this. And we're doing a contest. And here's how you can get into the contest. You get one entry if you add a good question in our Ask Us a Question thread in the Guild on Board Game Geek. Good question meaning not like, what color is your underwear? Something that really we can actually answer on the podcast, okay? So give me one good question. It could be a personal question, or it could be something about gaming in the industry. You get a second entry into the contest if you record a video or audio and you post it on either Twitter or Facebook with the hashtag Board Games Insider. Hashtag Board Games Insider. Put that Twitter, Facebook, you'll get one entry on there as well. And then we're going to do, once this is all over, we're going to do a random drawing from all of those entries. It'll be one game from the Portal Games catalog. However, since we were nominated for the Golden Geek Award, we're now going to be doing 2 games from the Portal Games catalog. But if we win the Golden Geek Award, Ignacy has said he'll give away 4 games. Now, by the time you hear this, we would have either won or lost. So hopefully we won, and the prize even becomes bigger. So hopefully you're going to go out and vote, and I'm going to be doing more tweeting about that soon. Let's get to the real news. The first one is pretty cool. Under the category of life reopening, Wizards of the Coast has lifted the Magic the Gathering in-store play suspension for Japan. Well, it's a start, right? But North America, Latin America, and Europe remain under a lockdown. So Wizards of the Coast has lifted the Magic the Gathering in-store play suspension for Japan. As COVID-19 vaccines roll out and populations get closer to achieving some level of immunity, WotC has begun to lift its in-store play suspensions for various regions. Japan's in-store play suspension was recently lifted despite NHK World reporting that COVID-19 cases topped 729 new cases in Tokyo for the first time since February. That's a pretty low number for us. I mean, Tokyo is what? It's got to be a 5 million person city, maybe 10 million. 729 new cases is pretty good. WotC also intends to lift the suspension of in-store play in the Africa region on May 1st. Other regions have remained this way. So Ignacy, I mean, overall, probably a very good turn of events for the gaming hobby. Wizards of the Coast being the biggest of the big that are specifically part of this, of our hobby. So good on them for seeing where it's a good place to start this.
Yeah, I'm eager to know, and of course we will not know, but I'm eager to know if it has anything to do with the fact that the Olympics will happen in Japan in very, very soon, and Japan is generally preparing for having Olympics, quite a big tournament this summer. So maybe because the safety changes in Japan, they are allowed to do something like that, because for sure the country is preparing to open up totally for the Olympics. So it may be the case that's why Japan, which may be for us very strange choice. Yes, why Japan? Maybe right. Because of the Olympics.
Maybe. I mean, right. I mean, they're again. I'll state that the 700 new cases in a city the size of Tokyo is a pretty good number. I mean, so we want 0, but let's face it, we're never going to get to 0, and there's got to be a point where we say, okay, we're at a level where it makes sense to do things, hopefully still using good protocols of sanitization and masks and things like that. But we're getting closer and closer to this. So happy to see Wizards of the Coast moving forward in that direction. Now, here's a great one for retailers out there. I'm sure we have some retailers. I know we do, because some of them have contacted us in the past. Retailers, pretty sure in the United States, who have been affected by COVID. And these would be retailers of comic books and books in general. BINC is now accepting retailer grant applications. We reported last week that that the BINC had gotten funding of over $1 million to now start giving grants to individual retailers of up to $10,000. Now, a retailer can reach out to them and apply for a grant because of issues that they had with COVID. And they're going to be giving out up to 200 comic stores and booksellers. They can go to I'll give you the general, because it's important to give this link, BINC, BINC.smapply, smapply.io, BINC.smapply.io/prog/thrive_2_thrive. And of course, you can just go over to
You can
ICV2
Google it, yes, or you can
and you can
Google it
Google it.
just
I know it's
dive.
kind of hard. But this is another great way that the industry itself is attempting to help small businesses actually get back on their feet. Now, I'm not sure what the application has, but I'm sure you have to prove that you're a store and you have employees and that you've been affected in a negative way by the pandemic. But I strongly recommend, and I know so many stores that have been really badly affected, and I know that specifically because the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund, which I've talked about, and I'm on the board of directors, we often have businesses trying to apply to us, but we can't help businesses. We only help individuals. And of course, there's a fine line between the owner of a store
Yep.
and the store, but we have to focus on individuals who have been negatively impacted. They lost their job, they've got no income, they've got medical bills that they have to have paid, they can't feed their family, right? So that's what we focus on. But BINC is now focusing on the stores themselves. So a retailer out there of comics and books, go check this out. And if you've been negatively impacted, please do apply. And I'm happy to pass along this to you.
And once again, we strongly uh, suggest that you, our listeners, support local game stores in these difficult times. I discussed this many times in the previous episodes. I have this rule that I came up with during the COVID that once a month I go to a local game store here in Silesia, in my region, and I go there to buy a game. And I don't know what game I will buy. I just go there, and I know that I will go there, and I will pick one of the titles and support them. And please do, if you can afford it, if you have such a chances, once a month, visit the game store and spend some money for dice, for sleeves, whatever. Help them.
Absolutely. Whenever I walk in, I look around, and there's always something that I can add to my
Yep.
collection of accessories or role-playing books or a new game or whatever the case may be. Please support local businesses, period. And of course, specifically your comic and game stores. So Gen Con released a health and safety update. It came from the president of Gen Con. And basically he wanted to tell people where they stood right now, with the, what they know and what they'll be planning today. This is very extensive, so I'm going to try to summarize it on the fly here. They know that vaccines are rolling out and that all of their staff is fully vaccinated and will certainly be by the time Gen Con rolls around. They know that the Indiana Convention Center, where Gen Con is held, has added $7 million in safety upgrades and protocols and cleaning and air filtration systems to make things safe. Because they moved to September, they're probably not going to have the Lucas Oil Stadium as part of the venue, which is going to shrink the footprint a bit, though that was by far a smaller amount of stuff that went on at Lucas Oil Stadium. The most of it goes in the convention center itself. What they're planning on today is that they're going to cap the attendance in the 30 to 40,000 range, which would basically make this approximately half the size of a standard Gen Con, which has been around 70,000 in recent years. So we're talking about half the size of the normal Gen Con, which certainly will make things a little easier to move around and easier to get a hotel and easier to get food and drink, because Indianapolis is really hard during that time of year. So they're also planning to close the convention center at night to allow cleaning to occur. Of course, you'll have the hotels to do those kind of like playing of games and things like that.
But this one is very important, but a big change. Like my perception of Gen Con is that this is this crazy 4 days of gaming that gaming doesn't stop. Like you enter a convention center at any point of the day or night, and people are there playing games. This is a big change, but of course a very good change in this particular year. They are closing to clean everything. So in the morning when you enter the convention center, everything is once again safe.
Yeah, no, I mean, sure, a big change. That's obviously going to mean there won't be the same number of events, because they have events running all night basically. And of course you won't have the same gaming space. You'll have to use other places, the hotels and things like that, to do that. They still have, some uncertain things. By the way, this is all as of 2 weeks ago, April 15th is when this came out. It is unclear whether proof of vaccination will be required, and they're building extra room for attendees to ensure social distancing. So, and how they're doing that, they're not sure about, but they are spacing tables out. So all of this together is a really great movement for Gen Con to actually happen in a safe way. This came from the president of Gen Con, David Hope. So I'm excited. I was excited to see this, that they've come out with these things and they can keeping everybody updated on what's happening.
Yep, and I was from the very beginning of the year, I was very skeptic and I was pessimistic, but now I see that it will happen and I see that they are taking it very, very seriously. And I'm looking forward for this upcoming Gen Con. I will not make it for Gen Con, of course, this year,
Right.
but it looks like a very solid plan and well thought. And I also read somewhere, I don't know where I read, but the information that just before Gen Con in Indianapolis, there will be 2 other bigger events, like a music concert, something like that. And Gen Con said they are going to look very closely at these events to learn more about what went wrong, what went good, and once again learn something just before Gen Con will happen, which is also very, very good.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the next thing is a very interesting story, and this revolves around 2 companies. One is Grail Games, been around a while. They've known to do games that they were reprints, and Minion Games, which the owner of that company passed away last year, James Math, and the status of his games and Kickstarters were in jeopardy. Well, a good friend of mine, Steve Wick, who was a business partner, not of Minion Games, but with James in his other company called RPG Now, which does print on demand cards and role-playing games and all of these things. He released a statement saying that, thanks everybody for their patience and their kindness, and Grail Games is now going to be picking up Minion Games Kickstarter project, specifically the publishing of the Manhattan Project and Energy Empires. They're moving over to Grail Games so that they will be able to fulfill the Kickstarters and get all the backers that had already put money into it, make them whole, so to speak, which is a really great thing. And I know that Steve was extremely sad, of course, because his friend and business partner passed away, but he went the extra mile to ensure, and he didn't have to do this. He didn't have to take on James's company's behind the scenes work and finances and find a buyer for it, which he obviously has done, but he did it because of the kind of person he is. I have the utmost respect for what Steve Wick has done in hobby gaming over the last 30 years that he's been in the hobby, probably more than that. It's amazing. Fantastic guy. Thank you for getting this and making gamers whole again.
Absolutely, full respect, and it adds to what we say in this podcast for years. People work in this industry weird, strange, and lovely. And because we are in this business, because we are passionate, we love the industry, we love board games, and there is so many great people who just love it, do it because they love it, and is another example. So kudos to him and all other people who work in this industry, because I'm really very proud that I'm part of this whole family of crazy people, let's say.
Crazy people who really, really want to do the right thing. Now, Ignacy wanted me to end right there, but I'm going to take the next one. I moved his little marker there to go to next week, but I want to do one more story. I'll make it fairly quick because we're running a little long. Christian Peterson, right? He's the former CEO of Fantasy Flight and of Asmodee North America when they combined company. Christian Peterson went out and he bought the Fantasy Flight Games Center from Asmodee. So let me read the release here. Games Center Incorporated, a company formed by former Fantasy Flight Games CEO Christian Peterson, has acquired the retail operations of the Fantasy Flight Games Center from Asmodee North America. The 17,000 square foot retail food and event destination is located in Roseville, Minnesota, where Fantasy Flight Games has always been located, and it was the corporate headquarters of Asmodee North America. The game center was opened in 2010 at 8,000 square feet. By 2017, when we visited, ICV2 that is, it was larger and included a restaurant and retail operations in addition to gaming space. Peterson is the principal investor and managing partner of Strange Stars LLC, the investing and holding company that owns acquiring company Games Center Incorporated. He founded Fantasy Flight Games in 1995 and ran it until he merged with Asmodee in 2014, and he became the CEO of Asmodee North America. He left in 2018. He retired after Asmodee was acquired by Pi Partners. And a nice quick quote here: despite the devastation that COVID-19 has racked upon our world and many tabletop game retailers, I strongly believe that our tabletop gaming community is eager to again share great gaming experiences face to face, Peterson said in a statement accompanying the announcement. We hope to make this decision an even more, this destination, an even more amazing place in the future. So, we just talked about Steve Week and how wonderful he is. Christian Peterson, just another great guy. Now, he didn't have to go out and do this. I mean, they may never even be profitable again, this kind of store with this huge space and all that. Maybe never. But, he's made obviously a lot of money in the industry. He's taken some of it back. He's going to reopen this space and make it another great gaming space for the local Minneapolis. It's the greater Minneapolis area gaming community. I could not have been more excited about this. I thought it was just great news, even though it's a small area, but just that another great guy in the industry is doing another give back in the industry. Thank you, Chris Peterson, for doing this.
What can I say? I can say that, of course, I agree. And of course, this game center is one of these grail places for all the geeks from Europe to visit it, because it looks so amazing. Of course, I saw videos, I saw many pictures. And this is a place to visit one day in my life, right?
Absolutely. It's as important a location as like the first Snakes and Lattes and all of the ones that have come after that.
Yes, because it was famous from the very beginning. Yes. Every other publisher looked at FFG has their own center. They are playtesting games. They have these gamers, local gamers. They sell the product. There was this chance to eat also. Like, this is a famous location on the map of the world dedicated to our hobby. Amazing.
Yeah, very happy. Thanks again, Chris, for doing this. Let's get over to our strategy and tactics section. So we have Tommy Thigpen, who's at JTT005. He said, what is your least favorite part of the board game publishing process? And what's your favorite? Ignacy, I guarantee I know yours is designing games, right? I mean, what's your favorite part? And
I don't know what I'm doing in this business, because everything is pissing me off. I guess the favorite is when I sell the company at some point, but basically this is ongoing frustration with everything, all these delays and problems in the ports and wrong files. Like, I don't know. I always say, if you want to be part of this business, don't start the company, that's for sure. Just get hired. I don't know. Of course, I love the moment when the product is ready. I love to, get it. These hours, we created that as a team. We are very proud. Everybody's unshrinking the games, in the company, in the office, and sharing the joy. These are magical moments for sure. But it goes with so much work. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, overall, my least favorite part when I was publishing was always the amount of mental energy that it takes to get it done. But that's a very broad thing. Narrowing in on that, probably the uncertainties that you have. Like, you can control quite a bit of the process, but then you have the uncertainty of logistics, which will just kill you. Where, like, you say, I really need to hit the street date to make Gen Con, right? I need to make a street date, get the games in the United States and get the games at Gen Con. Yet you've got games that can't get on a container in China or in Germany, and then they hit the US, Europe, my own country, and they'll sit for a week, because there's a random inspection, even though I've imported 1,000 containers from this particular, printer. So that was always the most frustrating. And my favorite is literally, I mean, the joy of doing it and then like saying, wow, I got this to everybody and they liked it. They really liked it. Love that. Love that part. And again, I love conventions and I love meeting people and I love seeing gamers. It's always been one of the joys is just being at conventions and spending time and getting people say to me, hey, love what you do. Wow. It's
Yeah,
like that's like the best feeling in the world. Somebody comes out, love what you do, love your
yeah,
podcast.
this is the one thing that we all make fun of me, that people send me cookies. This is insane. Like I can grab at any point of my life. Like look at this. This is another package from my fans. Another pack of cookies. So this is really happening. These people are sending me packages of cookies, and this is amazing. And then I had this discussion with Greg, my production guy, and he says that everything is good with our game to be released in Essen, unless something stupid happened in port in China. And you never know what will happen.
And you
right?
never know. And you just never know. Fans, you're letting me down. You're sending him cookies, and I haven't gotten any bottles of beer, cans of beer, bottles of wine anytime. Scotch, good Scotch, single malt Scotch. No, I'm kidding. I'm not begging for anything. But when you see me at a convention, if you want to just have a beer with me, that I love. Okay, so we have Jacob Scott, who's at Scotian1. He said 31 pages. That means there were 31 pages when he posted this question, which is probably over a year ago at this point. There are really good questions on the last couple of pages, but I'm not going to read all that history to avoid duplicating questions. So at what point do you think that all the questions that could be asked will have been asked? I'm not talking about current events questions, but most of the general information questions about publishing. That's Scott. It's just, there's always going to be something. There's always going to be just like, do blue boxes sell more than red boxes? I mean, right, there's always something else. We don't mind taking silly questions either about our personal lives either, but sure.
I must say I'm really surprised that this format of the show is working so well for so many years. Like when we came up with this idea many years ago, and I thought, okay, people will send us questions, and now many years later, still new questions, still new topics to discuss. We are still on fire with new topics to discuss. So kudos to fans that came up with all these questions. Interesting enough, I do have a Polish podcast with my wife Mary as well, and in this podcast we also ask our fans for questions, and there is no questions. So I don't know what the specifics of the Board Games Insider and English-speaking audience, but here we have like a ton of amazing questions. Polish fans, Polish listeners for my Polish podcast, they don't care. They don't give me any questions. I need to come up with this content for them.
Very good. Why don't we have Mary on for the 200th episode? We haven't talked about what we're doing on the 200th episode. We should have Mary.
That'll be a crazy episode. We don't want to go there.
Jordan Deckler, who's at Skinny White Boy on Board Game Geek. If you got to pick anywhere in the world for a board game convention to be, where would you get to be the guest of honor? Or would you get to be the guest of honor and play as many games as you like? Where would it be? Where is the weirdest place that you've ever played a board game? And he loves the show. Tom would be proud. No, he's not. He's not proud of us. He's not proud of me. Maybe he likes Ignacy. So what one place would you like to be at a convention where you're the guest of honor? The best. I'm
absolutely huge fan of all castles. Any convention
castles, no T. You don't pronounce it. Castles. Okay.
Okay. These places with the knights. Many years ago, no knights these days.
Knights. No, I'm kidding. No, it's not.
I absolutely love these locations, and I visit them personally, like sightseeing. But to have a convention is such an epic location, and then either play a role-playing game session like Dungeons and Dragons, or play some fantasy game like Gloomhaven. That would be a blast. So if there's any convention taking place in such a location, I'm in. Like, just invite me and I'm coming.
That sounds like a great one, and I'll second that one. But if anyone would like to invite me as guest of honor in Australia, New Zealand. I know some people out there that I've met. I've dropped that hint. If you'd like to invite me as a guest of honor to your convention in Melbourne or Sydney, or like in New Zealand in like Hobbiton,
So you are vaccinated and you are ready, correct?
I'm ready to go. Second, and I'll also put a shout out for Hawaii. If you want to invite me to be the guest of honor at, there's a couple out there that I know of too. I almost got invited to one out there. I had Vinny from Double Exposure, Envoy program. He was working with them to try to get, but it's more like it's like a Comic-Con, so they've got more money. But since they're not focused on board games, they didn't take me. But anybody wants to have me, let's talk. You know how to reach me. Come on. All right, that's it for our questions of the week. Let's go over to play testing. All right, in our play testing segment, which I'm scrolling down to, here we are, where we question you. This is a Steven question this week. So my question to Ignacy and everybody else as well is, you are Thanos. And, well, you are insane. With your Infinity Gauntlet, you will snap your fingers and one hobby game is removed from existence. What game is that?
Seriously?
What game is that and why? It's got to be a hobby game. But note to everybody who's going to answer this question when we put it out there, do not sling any hate at that game. Think of a non-hate reason why this game doesn't exist. Like, it was done better in another game. That doesn't mean you hate that one. It's just I'll give examples after Ignacy goes. It's my question, but
no, I must check Board Game Geek. I need some idea. Give me
I will go first then. I will go first. So I have to snap my finger and one game goes away. I'm going to say, and maybe this is odd to some people, I'm going to say Dominion.
Dominion.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
but
why?
But because Dominion was a great concept. It set a genre, the deck building genre, in motion. But now I think that every other game that's come after it has done deck building better. So Dominion, and I've said this in the past, that Dominion was a mechanic in the search of a game, whereas Core Worlds, deck building is part of the game. Or what was the one that came like almost right after Dominion by AEG?
Thunderstone.
Thunderstone, yeah. I mean, then you have like theme really got introduced into the game, and you had multiple places to do things. And so I just think that was done. Sure, it was important at the time, but everything after that has done it better. So Dominion, I've snapped you out of existence. No hate on Dominion. It just set a genre, and we don't need it anymore. I do not hate Dominion.
That's brutal, man.
Brutal, man. I'm brutal. No, it's not a hate thing. Remember that. So what do you think? You're Thanos. You're insane.
Yes, I will go the game, and this is very interesting. Please give me follow-up in our geek guild if this is the same case in your countries, because we had a very specific situation in Poland, and I'm not sure if this is like a worldwide. Players in Poland who played the game called Through the Ages from Vlada Chwatil, this epic, amazing civilization game, they become so crazy, stating that there is no other greater game, that you play Through the Ages and you don't need to play anything else. They get so looking up on any other title that I cannot stand them. For years, I was fighting them on the forums and telling them they are jerks, etc., etc. Now I'm not on the forum, so I don't do it. But when I see anybody who says Through the Ages is the best game, I punch them in the face. Like, I cannot stand this phrase. Like, really, guys. So I would love to get this game out of the universe, and they would be just whining and crying, and it'll make me fun.
So due to the crazy fans of Through the Ages,
yep, I cannot.
You're going to snap Through the Ages out of existence. All right. This is a silly question, but we're going to ask everybody out there. Again, Ignacy's going to create this right now. Make sure you get all of that, including my little note there about don't sling any hate. This is not about hate of the game. Think of a non-hate reason why this game doesn't need to exist. And let us know. What game would you remove from existence and why? Nasi, make sure you put that there on our thread in board game, on our guild on Board Game Geek, under the play testing thread for episode 193. Meanwhile, we're going to go to the final scoring. Thank you all so much for listening, and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts. To ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment, you must post them in the correct thread in our guild on Board Game Geek, and you'll be entered into the contest for the 200th episode to win some games. To answer our question to you from our playtesting segment, also go to our guild on Board Game Geek and look for the thread with this episode's question. Board Games Insider has a Facebook page, so please like us on Facebook. Also on Facebook, please like Ignacio's page and Steven's page /Portal Publishing and /Podfather Gaming. Our websites are portalgames.pl, portalgamesus.com, and podfathergaming.com. Please go there, sign up for our newsletters to get up-to-the-minute info on what's happening at Portal Games and with the Podfather. On social media, you can speak directly to Ignacy and Steven on Twitter and Instagram at portalgamesus and at Podfather Gaming. And on YouTube, remember, check it out. Very active channels, Portal Games Movies, Portal Games Gameplays, and the Podfather of Gaming, all YouTube channels. Convention season is upcoming, and I will see you at Gen Con. That'll be the first major convention, certainly. Hopefully, you'll be there safely. Board Games Insider was professionally edited by Matthew Jude from This Game is Broken podcast. If you'd like him to edit your podcast, please contact him on Twitter or email at thisgameisbrokenpodcast@gmail.com. Ignacy, tell me, I think you have something special you're going to add here because you wrote something down here. What is this?
I have a great news for Steven, because I asked my coders, my Portal Games Digital, to finally merge these two websites that we have, and now there's only one page to rule them all. It's called portalgamesus.com, and if you type this link, when you listen to this episode, our two pages are now merged, so hopefully it will happen. They promised me that. So our short notes will be shorter for the good 5 or 6 seconds.
Because you knocked, the portalgames.pl will just redirect.
Correct. We don't need this domain anymore.
Okay, so good at it. Now we have only 2 domains. Very good, very good, very good. It's a good little piece of news. One page to rule them all, portalgamesus.com. Ignacy, that brings us to a close. Everybody, hopefully by the time you're listening to us, we will be winners of the best podcast of the year, hopefully. Well, maybe not.
And remember, next week we will bring you a new episode of a whining segment about the moving, so stay tuned.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for listening. See you next week.